US President Donald Trump is in India on February 24 to 25 on a state visit, his first such visit to the country. The visit assumes significance given the fact that Mr. Trump is making this trip in an election year. Besides wife Melania, he will be accompanied by his daughter Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner. This would make the trip one of the few times that Mr. Trump has travelled officially with so many members of his family. He will touch down at Ahmedabad, Gujarat on Monday, where he is set to address a joint rally with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Delegation-level bilateral talks will take place in Delhi on Tuesday. After talks between Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi, a number of agreements and MOUs, including on counterterrorism, intellectual property rights, space, and medical cooperation, would be exchanged. A limited trade deal, that would give the US greater access to India's dairy, poultry markets, and lower tariffs on other products, however, remains elusive. Ahead of his visit, he said his country is doing a very big trade deal with India, but later on. Supreme Court Judge Arun Mishra described Prime Minister Narendra Modi as an internationally acclaimed visionary at a public forum on Saturday. He commended the versatile genius of Mr. Modi to think globally and act locally. Justice Mishra, one of the first 5 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, was delivering his vote of thanks at the inauguration of the International Judicial Conference 2020, Judiciary and the Changing World. On the dais were Mr. Modi, Chief Justice Sharad A. Bobde, Justice N.V. Ramana, Attorney General K.K. Venugopal and Justice L. Nageshwara Rao. The function had in attendance Supreme Court and High Court judges, judges from across 24 nations, former judges and advocates. In his inaugural address, Mr. Modi said how 1.3 billion Indians had wholeheartedly accepted some critical judgments recently. These judgments were the subject of global discussion. In an apparent reference to the Ayodhya land dispute verdict, Mr. Modi said several apprehensions were expressed about the consequences of these judgments. But look what happened. 1.3 billion Indian wholeheartedly accepted the judicial verdicts, Mr. Modi said. The Prime Minister said his government acted swiftly and with complete sensitivity and responsiveness to the needs of modern society by legislating the rights for transgenders and enacting a law against triple talaq. Another achievement is how India has made big strides in gender justice. Today, after 70 years of independence, the participation of women in elections is at the highest level ever. For the first time in India, the enrollment of girls in educational institutions is more than the boys. This is on account of successful programs such as Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, Mr. Modi told the assembled judges and foreign delegates. Both the Prime Minister and the Law Minister referred to women in the defense services. Mr. Prasad said how the Prime Minister was bold enough to permit Indian Air Force women to also fly fighter planes. He said the PM's initiative was complemented by the recent Supreme Court judgment which gave women army officers the right to command. Chief Justice Bobde said, the zeitgeist of our time is technological development. A small change in one corner can impact other corners. He said conferences like these help the judiciary gain knowledge from each other. He said a well-structured judicial system had been part of this country for over 2,000 years. Justice Ramana flagged several global issues such as terrorism, cybercrimes, environmental degradation and health in his speech. He said terrorism had affected every part of the world. He said there was a need for the judiciary to evolve innovative principles and jurisprudence to keep terrorism at bay while upholding the rule of law. Assam Education Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has said his mother's unhappiness would not make the government reconsider its decision to shut down Sanskrit tols, along with madrasas. Mr. Sarma on February 12 announced that government-aided madrasas, Islamic theological schools and tols or ashrams teaching Sanskrit and religious scriptures would be shut. He had said these centers would be converted into proper schools as it was not the duty of the government to teach religion. The decision received criticism, the sharpest being from his author mother Mrinalini Devi, who was in January elected Vice President of Assam Sahitya Sabha, the state's apex literary body. She will take charge in April. I studied Sanskrit in school. I love the language that is the root of the Assamese tongue. The government should continue to teach Sanskrit even if the tolls cease to exist, she said 3 days ago. But the government must find something bad in the tolls before deciding to turn them into high schools, she added. Mr. Sarma reacted late on Friday. The government has its own way of functioning and not on the basis of what parents think or feel. It takes decisions based on facts and necessities of the people in general. Almost 80% of the Sanskrit tolls have become meaningless today, he said. The Education Minister, who also holds the finance and health portfolios, asserted that the tolls had become meaningless and were essentially factories for mere matriculation, high school leaving class 10 exam. He added, fact is, most tolls this year had no candidates for the class 10 exams. The government cannot waste its limited resources. The closure and transformation of tolls and madrasas will happen. The closure of the madrasas and tolls is expected in the next academic session from April. Assam has 614 government-run and recognized madrasas. There are more than 900 tolls but only 97 are government-aided, officials said.